whatever you looked at. As you looked at whatever you looked at, is there any material missing in this section? Well, I mean, we did, is any material missing? Kind of, so I don't know how else to ask that question. In a certain sense, it's a variety of the variation of the question we talked about last week, but is there anything missing? Where is the discussion focused from, or what taken from? And where is the discussion not taken from? I actually asked it the opposite way. Where is the discussion not taken from, and where is the discussion focused on? Top of the head for anybody on this? Well, I may be wrong, I may be right. After Aleph, the Sif Aleph, and now Sif Bet all the way through, I didn't notice much Gemara or any Gemara at all. We took care of the Kesuvos Gemara basically in a little bit in Aleph. We're done with that. Kind of set up the brachas and all that. There was things to think about regarding some of that. Some of that will come back, or at least hovers there. But if we're not doing Gemara, what are we doing? So, and what material are we basing it on? So I invite a response, a stab from anybody.
A lot of the material here is Chuvas, it's Minhagim, Sefer Hasidim. It's like it's more, let's say, practical halacha. It's
Minhagim. Since when do I have to spend so much time on Minhagim? This is supposed to be a halacha here. So there is some halacha, some Rambam. Even the Rambam feels like a minhag. It all feels like this is what we do. Even with the Rambam, it feels that way. So therefore, what gets created? I would say two things get created. If you can help me with one of the two, I'd be helpful. Since we're talking about minhagim, what becomes created? I see if I can remember. I see two things being created. Yeah, two things being created. First thing that's being created, well, you have your hand half up. Go ahead. Yeah. You don't have it.
Wasn't up.
Okay. Keep your hand down. Okay. One gets created is trying to decide which minhag. Actually, three things. And reasons for those minhag, that'd be number two. And three, we have several meta principles. Like Elosim mitzvot, chavirot. And also that becomes like a very big thing, like a very big thing. He's like a meta principle. But I say to you, the meta principle doesn't come first exactly. It comes either after the minhag we decided, or it comes at the very most with deciding the minhag. But really doesn't sound like, for me, we got these meta principle. Again, we're not basing it on Gemara. This is we're not darshaning halacha from the, as it were, certainly not from the Katuv too much, and certainly not from Gemara too much. We're darshaning from minhagim, or we're deciding a minhagim. We're giving some reasons, and that's why all of a sudden there's multiple reasons for certain things, like this whole business with panim chadashos. So many different nuances of panim chadashos, right? And we'll go through a couple. You'll name them for me. There's like 6, 7, 8. I don't know. There's a whole. Why is that? Because there's no real reason. So or real understand. So you have to come up with what is panim chadashos, and then you have some meta reasons. Anyway, that's what I think was happening here. So what would be the mistake in learning right now? Mistake in learning is to get too uptight regarding the different minhagim. It's like, oh no, I'm following this one. I'm not, these are different minhagim. People pick, so I think pick different. On the other hand, of course, not taking the minhag seriously at all is always the problem. So we are here at the creation of a ritual. And now to go back to from last week, the question I asked, the difference between Harrison and the Nesuing kind of thing. The Harrison was a very precise halachic discourse, and I don't know exactly how we said it last week, but Nesuing was kind of a like, how do we do this celebration? So we're really here at the creation of a minhag, or selection of a minhag from the minhagim, and that becomes and meta principles that could explain it either before, if you really want to say it that way. In other words, the meta principle moves it into a certain minhag direction, or it comes afterwards. It kind of reveals, say it that way. It reveals the meta principle. Okay. Any comments on this? Besides from the fact that I may have just created everything I just said right now. Just like, by the way, all of you who give mini shiurim at the seders you attend, usually you give too long mini shiurim at the seders you attend, because usually what you're trying to figure out, why is the Haggadah this way? Right? I mean, when you get the halacha kind of mini thing, and because it is also a created ritual. It is also, but I think this far. So I'm not sure to what degree I can remember everything that I'm saying, that I just said about this created selecting of minhag, trying to figure out what the meta principles, but you'll remind me as we do it. Bet and Gimel basically go together. Bet and Gimel brings together, look at Bet, right? We're in the Torah, right? Two chasanim, right? The bracha could be as one. That's kind of interesting. And that's how halacha l'maisa, the Rosh says. It sounds like a minhag to me. And why would that ever take place? Actually, they don't fully explain why that would take place. But why would you have two chasanim? They bring the Re of Paris in the Tosafos, the Re of Paris.
They give an example of if like a rich family would like add a poor couple's wedding onto their wedding celebration so that everyone could have a nicer wedding.
Right. Well, right. In other words, exactly. I say, well, I just hesitated just to say, it's clearly that the poor person is benefiting, but then we're brought to believe everyone benefits. So, that to make it proper. Given that, and that's with two chasanim, and that's compared in Gimel, since I'm talking to you, Yavne, and in Gimel, what does they bring from the Rambam? A parallel situation. What's the parallel situation, Yavne?
Of one man marrying multiple women.
Okay, so how does it compare and how does it not compare?
In terms of the result of the rule that's brought, or in terms of how it's different as a situation?
No, why are they brought together? Because they're both.
Oh, because they're both multiple weddings happening at once.
Okay. And what's the problem in bringing the two together? Or what would be a difficulty in bringing the two? Because does it fully match up? Not really, but does it fully match up?
No, because one of them is two separate couples and one of them is not. One of them is
Right, okay.
one unit that includes, yeah.
One unit? Well, you want to tell me what that one unit is?
I mean, one husband, one groom, I guess.
One groom with
Yeah.
with a number of women, right? Okay. What's strange about bringing this here in the tour?
Oh,
I find it strange. Why would I find this strange?
because because there was polygyny wasn't practiced so much at that point, or
Right. I mean, because Rabbeinu Gershom, we have
Right.
earlier stuff, right?
Right.
But the halachic principle, right? And they're searching for parallel cases in order to have as much. So before Rabbeinu Gershom,
what
which
would
you
it?
might call Me'ikar Hadin before the Takana, for which, even though many of us would feel that Rabbeinu Gershom is Me'ikar Hadin, except it's post facto, right? In other words, better off. It's not the way that it should be, having it, polygamy, but nonetheless, it brings it that way, and that's the case. Now, but since it was that way, we have a precedent, and that's helpful. Now the question is, I'm trying to still gain some traction here because you learned this stuff as you prepared. What's the problem in doing this? In having what term did you use, Yavi? I don't know, maybe multi is me. What term did you use? What did you say?
Wedding.
These are two cases of what?
Oh, of having multiple weddings happening at once.
Multiple weddings. Okay, fine. And what's the problem? Lexi, what's the problem?
Problem is the Ein Hara. The problem is that you're comparing the simultaneous weddings. That you're like, oh, well, so and so's dress is much prettier. So and so,
So what's that
I
term?
don't know.
Yeah, what's that term? So we use the word Ein Hara. What other term is used by the Dosei Kalim? Ava.
Right. That essentially, I think it's interesting to me that they're articulated not as necessarily synonymous because they feel pretty synonymous. Essentially, my assumption is that the concern of Ein Hara is somebody's going to be jealous of the other one and then give them the Ein Hara.
That, as far as I'm concerned, is fine. And that goes back to my original statement, not to get so obsessed with the difference. I mean, the differences are fine. I think it's good for a share to say the different differences, but means there's really problems socially working this out. Even when they say Ein Hara, I don't know if they mean really. They mean it's kind of like it makes for an Ein Hara, whatever that Ein Hara is going to be. It makes for Ava. It makes for, so you have a situation where halachically could be permissible, but again, and there may be a good reason for doing it, like the case of was it Yechiel of Paris, the Re of Paris, Rabbi Yitzchak of Paris?
Yechiel
Who
mi
is
Paris.
it?
Yechiel.
What?
Rabbi Yechiel mi Paris.
Okay, so that's done for a moral reason, but here's a case in which the solution has its own problems. So you have actually some suggestions about mitigating the problem of Ein Hara, of Ava, etc. And and what are they? In fact, I should go back one step. I want to say there's a more, in a sense, a basic problem, which is within that category about Ava and Ein Hara, is you get confused who you're really talking about. So there's rights to who we have something about well, what does the Beis Yosef say? What does the Beis Yosef say? Let's see here on, actually we'll do in the middle of the Beis Yosef, 4 or 5 lines down. Aaron, you alive? You got COVID, you're alive.
No more COVID, thank God.
Doing chesed for the COVID bug. Allowing, giving hachnosas orchim. No one talks about that. Hachnosas orchim for COVID. Should be one person left. Okay, good. Do you have the dati nota? Just like in the middle of the beginning of the Bet Gimel of the Beis Yosef. It's about 4 or 5 lines down.
בדעתי נוטה שכל כת וכת מן החתנים מכניסים לחדר אחד לעצמו, כדי שניכר שיש שם 2 חתונות, ואין מברכים לזה בפני זה, להפריש בחתונתם, וזהו בעניין 7 ברכות, שעושים מחמת כנסת לחופה ובברכת אירוסין, אבל עניין 7 ברכות שנוהגים אין צריך עד כאן.
Again, do you have Babayit? Do you have it there?
Oh, I just have ein serich. I'm on Bar Ilan. I don't have my sefer with me.
Well, boo to them. Again, Babayit. Babayit, Beit, Bar Ilan, no. Again, Babayit.
I have Babayit in brackets.
Ain't Sarech, you don't have to do really that thing. So I'm just saying it's the wide conversation, and we can be cholek in each, give a chiluk on each one. Eva, Ayin Hara, and here is just being makir who we're talking about, which I just said a moment ago is maybe that's the basis for the whole thing, although the moral basis, okay, you can give a share like that too, but even though the moral basis is really to make a chiluk here. And go down further, 2 lines down further in the Beis Yosef. Sheyesh noagim, you Aaron.
שיש נוהגים שלא לעשות 2 חופות כאחת. לכן כתב הגאון מימון, פרק ז' מהלכות יום טוב ובספר מצוות קטן, סימן קצר.
I couldn't find it, by the way. I don't know, anybody found it? Anyway, and he says, כתב שם
בספר חסידים, שאין לעשות חופות 2 אחיות בשבוע אחד.
Yeah, like today you would say to somebody, are you crazy? You're marrying off 2 daughters on the same week? Are you nuts? Okay.
I once had 2 sisters who were married exactly 1 week apart from each other.
I will just say, when there are sisters being married, I have things for brothers getting married. So I will be egalitarian about that, but at another time. But 2 sisters getting married, fathers come to me, and fathers and mothers come to me for only advice. I say, make sure the other one has a beautiful dress, because it's hard. Now, 2 get married on the same week. Also, who gets the hors d'oeuvres? Who's anyway? That's Ava. It's human. It's all that. Okay, fine. So we just took care of that. What am I missing? I'm missing is now the Prisha. Let's look at the Prisha. The Prisha says, I want to do a Prisha Zion, but I have to look up above, right? The Torah tells us, right? The Rambam tells the Torah brings it. Yesh lodom we saw noshim rabos ka'achas b'yom echad u'vrech birchas chasonim ke'echad. Aval l'simcha tzarech l'smoach im kol achas la'achas simcha haruya la im b'sula zayin b'im b'la gimel v'lo ma'arvim simcha b'simcha. That I want to say right now is a meta principle. Even though we have it elsewhere, or we find it elsewhere, bring it in here, and that helps us. By the way, how then are you supposed to do? How then are you supposed to do it? According to this, which we don't do anymore, and it's the end of my apologetics, right? Whenever an Orthodox rabbi says we don't do that anymore, it's a big apologetic. But how? So how is it done? He marries several women from different, let's say, one's the Betula, one's the Bula, whatever. So like, how is it done? You learned it, so you figured it out. I had trouble figuring. No, I think. Anyway, how's it done? What do you got? Yeah.
My best guess was that they have the wedding all together and then like you do the 3 days and then after that you do the 7 days or something like that, or vice versa, or
Yeah,
however
vice
many it
versa.
is.
Right. What do we learn from that, by the way?
Seems like
The
then you can
big-
delay the simcha. You can have a break. It seems like you can delay the simcha after the wedding.
All right, but even
it all
more,
seems very odd.
more obtusely halachically, just on the
The
halacha.
Shivat Yemei Mishte aren't completely like continuous with Simchat Nisuin. Like you actually can see this, have them even in
Simcha and the brachot are separate.
Right.
There is a separation between the brachos and the simcha, which in a certain sense, I'll say, is a devaluation of the of what we thought about in terms of the brachos. We might have thought about the brachos. At least I thought about the brachos. What do you have, Joel?
I don't know if they're disconnected, or that the brachot that are done under the chuppah, or whatever the chuppah is, in the chuppah, before the chuppah, are disconnected from the brachot done at the simcha. They're the same brachot, but they don't have to be those sets, because you do the same sheva brachot in both, right?
No,
But I
because
think they do have to be disconnected because we have the misalignment between, depending on like when a betula is married versus an almanah versus when it's a bechor marrying her versus an alman. We have the like misalignment between the yemei simcha and the yemei bracha, right? So we have to say that those are different things, because you can have some days of like simcha without bracha or vice versa. But I think the Beit Yosef says, like while talking about that simcha is like not doing work during the time.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a reason to get married to several people, but it sounds on some levels good. Yeah, but okay. So now we start being mefalpel, which is good, and this disassociation. What I take from you, so I agree with you, Leslie. What I take from you, Joel, because So therefore, the real reason, as it were, of sheva brachot during the days, the brachos during the days of simcha. In other words, the way we're supposed to think about it is not that the days of simcha, the days of brachos gives us simcha, but the days of simcha is when we have the brachos, is to reinvigorate, remind ourselves of the wedding, remind the chosin and kala of the wedding, and the guests who come to the sheva brachos. Okay, something like that. I think that's what's happening here. When I said, I still think it kind of like the brachas are less important than simcha. Maybe we'll say it that way. Yeah, you're thinking about it. What do you think? Do you think what I just said is right or wrong?
Why do you say that? Seems reasonable.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Now, let's look at the Prisha. This gives us an opportunity, because I felt like we haven't done enough Prisha this year. Prisha, right, is post-space Yosef, pre-Bach. In general, a lot of the Bach, Bach takes the Prisha seriously, whether he quotes them or not. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. So that's important. Below Marvim Simcha B'Simcha. Okay, so wait, I lost my place. Raphael, you read that if you're still there. Raphael, you there? He's not there. Okay.
just back.
See. What? You're back?
I came
read.
back. I was in the bathroom.
Sorry.
Pardon.
Not sorry. Below Marvim Simcha B'Simcha.
Just a second. I'm finding it below. I'm here with Barilan also.
Yeah, I say it like it's pride. Like you got pride in this. Okay. Below Marvim Simcha B'Simcha. Yeah.
זה לא מערבים בשמחה בשמחה, פירוש לא ישמח עם שתיהן כאחד, אלא זו אחר זו, כמו שמצינו ביעקב, שנאמר מלא שבוע זו. וגומר, וכן משמע מדברי
הרב המגיד?
מדברי הגות מימון...
הרב המגיד?
הרב המגיד,
Yeah.
הרב המגיד, הרב המגיד, שכתב על הרמב"ם בפרק י' מהלכות
אישוס.
מלכות אישות, וזה לשונו, מה שכתב אבל לשמחה, שם אמרו, רצוננו לא אמר במועד קטן, שאין מערבים שמחה בשמחה, כמו שהתבהר סמוך ביעקב אבינו עד כאן לשונו.
Okay, fine. And they find
So-
us a pasuk. They find us a pasuk. This is an asmachta of an asmachta, as it were. I'm just saying, right? There's no but then we have it. Now I want to not skip too much. I want to back in the Torah, keep your finger on what key or your finger on the plus on the prisha. And what we wanted to say is, well, it is going okay. Okay, since you're reading Rafael, back in the Torah, b'makom shenoagim.
The next thing is, ואין מברכים ברכת חתנים אלא בעשרה.
No, back up in the Torah.
במקום שנוהגים. במקום שנוהגים, שהחתן מתייחד עם הכלה אחר
Wait, does
אירוסין.
everybody have that? We're back in the Torah. Okay, makom shenoagim, yeah.
שהחתן מתייחד עם הכלה אחר אירוסין, that's basically
Wait,
יהודה
where
עם
is that
הגמרא.
makom? Where is
Yehuda.
that makom? What?
יהודה.
Yehuda. That used right. That was famous for that, right? What else were they famous for? Yehuda. Makom
חילוק כליות
shenoagim shebishyachid and makala. They ended up sleeping with each other. It turned out to be not a great policy for the religious. Okay, but and you can tell that would happen because it says Mevorech.
מברך ברכת חתנים, מיד בשעת אירוסין. והעיד נא נוהגין.
Yeah, right. Sorry. Vayidna,
והעיד נא נוהגין, אין נוהגין להירס, אלא בשעת חופה. עיר כך מברך ברכת אירוסין וברכת נישואין זה אחר זה, וצריך כוס לכל אחת ואחת.
right,
וכתב הרמב"ם,
right. So now I want to look at down below in the Prisha, the tzarich close to call achat v'achat.
הוא מברך עם בורא פרי הגפן על כל כוס בפני עצמו, משום אין עושים מצוות חבילות חבילות. כמו שכתב לסמוך בברכת המזון.
Wait.
וגם משום
do I have the right place here? Yeah. Do I? Yeah.
That's
no,
the Prisha.
Is that wrong? But very close to call achat v'achat. What's the call achat v'achat? Me.
To ברכת אירוסין and to ברכת חתנים, basically.
What?
To ברכת אירוסין and to ברכת חתנים.
So birkat erusin and birkat chatanim, because that's the right. Even though now it's biyachat. Why not just push the coast over to the other side? By the way, this sometimes happens under chuppahs. You see that the chassan and kala drink so little from the birkas for the birkas erusin. The coast is on the side. The Besider Kedushin reaches and grabs the wrong coast. I tell you, it happens all the time. So it's important to move it out of the way to fulfill this. L'kol kos bifnei atzmo mishum she'nosim mitzvot chavilot. Okay, go on.
כמו שכתב לסמוך בברכת המזון.
Okay, what do you mean? What does it say about birkas hamazon? Birkat chatanim. So that principle comes back later on to instruct us that there's a coast for birkat hamazon and there's a code for birkas chatanim. How would that work?
So that's basically how we do today.
How?
That we do Bore Pri Gefen in the end of Birkat Hamazon, and then we move the classical. We talked about this last year. We move the classical Bore Pri Gefen of Sheva Brachot to the end to like make a separation between the both.
We don't do Bore Pri Gefen again.
You can. There, like I saw once a minhag that does both.
No, don't give me. Just tell me how it works.
I haven't been a Sheva Brachot for a very long time.
There's two kosos. I don't understand here. It could be at the previous time they had a double B'rei Pri Hagafen. We don't have a double B'rei Pri Hagafen, but we have two kosos. One goes for the Birkas Hamazon. The other goes for the Sheish Brachot. Then we fix it up by pouring it into a third cup. And this is how we fix it. What do you have, Joel?
I think because with the way the Prisha is going to continue, I think he wouldn't say you say Bor Priagafen twice for Birkat Hamazon. I think that because there's a second factor that's going to come in terms of a separation between Erusin and Nisuin.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
continue Raphael. Good. So we continue Raphael.
וגם משום שמפסיקים ביניהם ברכת כתובה.
Mhm.
So the reason we do two brachot is because there's an hefsek. Like
Well,
if I go,
it's very funny because you moved from Birkas Hamazon and Sheva Brachos to Birkas Erusin and Sheva Brachos of Nisuin, so we get confused. Or at least I got confused a little bit. Okay, but go on.
וגם משום דלא נתקנה לעשות אחר זה.
וגם משום
שלא נתקנה לעשות אחר זה. שלפעמים קידש אישה ונשאה אחר זמן מרובה. אגות אושרי. וצורך לומר מה שכתב וצריך כוס לכל אחד ואחת, היינו בדי יש לו כוס, דאם לא כן, הכתב לאל ברכת אירוסין אין צריך כוס דווקא וקלה.
if you only have one coast, save it for the Sheva Brachos, for the Birkat Chatan, because Erusin you can go with that. Okay, Lexi, did you have something before? Did I miss? Okay, fine. Now I want to go further with you in the tour for a few lines. And I'm kind of stuck with you doing the Prisha because I don't think we're used to the Prisha, and we have to appreciate there's some fun there, the Prisha. Back in the tour. To distinguish between the two brachas, and we've added the issue of reading the ketubah between the two brachot to make it fully separate. Two kosot, the bracha in between. Therefore, it doesn't get mished together. Have you ever seen a chuppah with Erusin and done on purpose? Erusin and Nisuin with one kos? Has anybody here ever seen that? Okay. Katav Rambam. Who's reading? I'll read. Katav Rambam Hamaresi Sho Berach Birkat Chatanim. V'lo nityached ima bebeita adayin arusa hi she'ein birchat chatanim oseh nisuin ela knisa lechupa. And I want to stop here. This is a further devaluation of the brachot, right? You know, we would think it's the brachot that makes the nisuin. The brachot, according to Torah, is not making the nisuin. The brachot you'll do later on, and therefore go now to Tet in the Prisha, and let's see who's gonna read that. Lexi, would you do that, please? Tet in the Prisha, everyone. Tet in the Prisha.
Yeah. So the Eris Benichlasa.
You're right.
Okay.
And
so
don't read
Eris
too fast like me. Just slow down a little bit. Irsa.
Eris Benichlasa lechupa velo birech berchat chatanim. Harei hi k'nisua gemora v'chozer mevarech acher kama yamim.
Okay. Did I read that in? Did we read that in the tour?
I think so.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure something else.
Because I remember the Rambam says that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right. So like you engage a woman and then you do a chuppah, whatever you want to call chuppah. Even if you didn't say Birkat Chatanim, it's like lo ma'akev, right? She's considered a Nisua Gemora, and you can say the bracha several days later.
Okay.
In Hakshot, Mashkatav and Birkat Erusin, the Katav Arbenu, B'Shem Harambam La'ayel, B'Siman Lamed Daled, Ve'im kiddush v'lo birich, lo yivarech achar kiddushin, dezo bracha levatela hi, demasha asa kavar na'aseh. Tzarich lomar d'shani birkat erusin, d'nizkar ha'erusin v'nisuin b'toch habracha. Ma she'en kein birkat chatanim, d'enan ela birkat shevach u'tfila.
There's a lot here, so
Right.
so explain.
Right. Basically, he said you might have thought that this contradicts what we saw about Birkat Erusin, where we say you can't do Birkat Erusin after Kiddushin, that would be a bracha levatela. And he says it's different. Birkat Erusin are different because in the bracha, like we say, the like Mikadesh Yisrael de Chuppah v'Kiddushin. And so you're actually mentioning those specific acts in it. And so if you're saying the thing after it's already been done, then it's more of like a bracha levatela, right? It's more of like the not.
And why is it a bracha levatela?
Because it's already been done. Because this was where you go back to like from last week, the idea of
and because you can say it this way, and Rabbi Landis, this proves that you're right, that it's only a halacha thing that was done in Erusin, and once it's done, it's finished. It's
right.
It's all.
So we see that essentially we think Birkat Erusin is like has a slightly more formal status than the Birkat Chatanim, right? And it's more connected to like, a significantly more formal status than the Birkat Chatanim, and it's connected dafka to a mitzvah as opposed to being like, again, the Birkat Chatanim, and this kind of relates to our idea of like, on the one hand, we see these sources indicate that bracha and simcha are not synonymous, and on the other hand, like we say essentially the Birkat Chatanim, it's not that they're like performing they're not performing or like connected to dafka a particular mitzvah. They're like saying nice pretty things about like Gan Eden and like their Birkat Shevach. So those you can say even days later.
So so not to repeat the other stuff I said last week and I just referred to now, I want to say something different. I mean, not different, including what I had said before. So this is like a classic question. The Birkat Nesuin is a mitzvah for who? Or on who? Who is the mitzvah? I'm raising the discourse for a moment here, right? On who is chal the chiyuv of Birkat Nesuin? You think you have an answer? Okay.
Not anymore.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear.
The community.
Yeah. So many achronim, that's how they understand it. And that comes from here. The chassan and kal stand there, and it's a bracha on it's a chiyuv, and they say it. Now, it's a machoket amongst achronim. The other possibility is the bracha is on the mitzvah is chal on who? Well, they say achronim that the other shitot, but the majority shitot is like we just said. It's chal in the community. The others say that it's really chal on the chassan because he's making a marriage, and therefore continues and Midin arevut, Midin arevus, the chassan, the Masader condition, or others can come up and make that bracha. Joel, what do you got?
I was thinking, is there any place where we see explicitly it says that the Chatan says Birkat Chatanim? Right, we saw that for Birkat Erusin, right? The Chatan says it, right? And then we have, maybe that people don't know.
No, that's his mitzvah. That's why I think actually the shita that it goes on the community, that it's on the kahal or community or am or whatever people say it different ways. And when they're looking for a pasuk, and you'll find it somewhere on the page here, they'll bring it that when Ruth was married off, she was praised by everyone. So that's their kind of asmachta.
And also the Gemara brings it from Achei Rivka, from Lavan and Rivka.
And Lavan and Rivka, Berchu. Okay. Now there is a halacha consequence, I believe, if you go with the position. So there's two positions. There is a position that it's chal on the chassan, and Bidin Arevus, there's the men, a Masada Kedushin, I kind of like almost showed my hand here, does it, or he says from the community. If you say it's on the community, it seems to me a very good proof that women can say Sheva Brachos, because they're mitzaref to the community, and they have the halacha being misameach. By the way, I haven't passed in this way, just to show my, there has to be some areas that I have cowardice, but actually it's for a reason, and that is I'm not sure if it's not from the din of the din chassid. There's no din of arevas from women to men in general. That is a meta principle in general, but that could be debated as well. But in any event, there's two types of Sheva Brachos, as we all know. I would think this would show Sheva Brachos even under the chuppah. The notion of Sheva Brachos at a Sheva Brachos, at a Sheva Simei Mishta, that I passed on a long time ago at Pardes. They created a hullabaloo even at Pardes. And that was on the basis of this, that it's a Sheva Brachos, which clearly is not Chal on the Chassan as part, because the whole Sheva Brachos at the Shiva Simei Mishta is only for one purpose. And what purpose is that? Did I send you something in the mail today from the Aruch HaShulchan? Can we take a quick look at that? That is Aruch HaShulchan Samach Bet Yud Aleph. Okay, and so Joel, where are you going? You have it?
I was gonna go get my Aruch HaShulchan, but
Get
I
your
can.
Aruch HaShulchan because I want you to read.
Samach Bet where?
Samach Bet Yud Aleph.
Yeah.
Nachum, I'm going to ask you if you noticed this one,
Okay.
Okay, Joel, the people, you have it? I sent it to you. You have it, right? I sent it today. I sent it a couple hours ago. Or Cheryl sent it actually. Ein Mevorchim.
Ein mevarchim berkat chatanim ela basara gdolim uvnei chorim velo avadim ve'chatan mina minyan.
Wait. B'nei chorim velo avadim.
Yeah.
And also the Rambam says, who else not?
Yeladim, I think he says the
Yeladim.
Rambam.
And what does the Rambam not?
He doesn't say Nashim, which is really.
He doesn't exclude Nashim.
Yeah.
If we say the Rambam's careful with his words, then you got to take that as something.
Yeah.
The argument of silence, as the admission is always silent, but nonetheless, he doesn't exclude Nashim.
And it also makes sense if it's
in the minion in such a case.
Sorry, say again, Rav Lanas. I couldn't. And Lexi, I think.
Just keep on reading.
Okay. The kevan dehem brachot berkot simcha, vehu sharoi besimcha lama lo yeh min haminyan. Right. So this is the proof that the chatan belongs with the minyan. Which
but
I think
we could extend this, and basically by saying that these are brachos of simcha, he's on the shita. They are tefillah and shabbat to tefillah. Or the other gear says Shabbat and Tehillah. It seems like the Rambam goes this way. It sounds like the Aruch HaShulchan is going that way. Okay, go on.
Ben kishe omrim otam b'shat nesuin, uven kishe omrim otam b'amishteh achar berkat hamazon.
In other words, he doesn't make a distinction because he doesn't know where I'm going to take it, where I just took it. Be'afagav.
Be'afagav delad devar shebikedusha hu kekadish ukedusha shelo yitanu b'asara. Yeah.
Wow. Now, if it's not Davar Shebekadusha, then there's something we're doing that seems ridiculous, which is having
we need a minion. Yeah.
We need a minion. So go on.
All right. Mikom makom kivan damrim she'akol bara l'chvodo l'chvod hane'esfim u'mazkirim binyan Yerushalayim ein miderech hakavod laskiram befachot me'asara. This is like Berovam Hadrat Melech in some ways, right?
Right. So the Afiel Mikrad the Boaz and
Afiel la Mikrad the Boaz the Fiva Ikach Hasra.
Really important from the Aruch HaShulchan on this is that he gives the whole derivation as that it's a time of simcha, and these are brachos of simcha, which is the same thing by saying tefillah and sheva. I think that's hainu hach, zelber zach, as you say. It's the same thing. Therefore, even chasadim. But if you say now that women are part of the simcha, so now the question is in both situations, by the shivas yimei mishta, but also tachas a chuppah. Now, in terms of shivas yimei mishta, it became a big machlokas in the Dati Leumi community here in Israel. On one side was Rebbe Mori Shal Yisraeli, who was very much against it, and you read his. You can find ways to be against it. He was only talking, by the way, only talking down under the chuppah, but part of his argument was it will lead to under the chuppah. I think he's right, it's going to lead to under the chuppah, but that one of his major reasons against it. On the positive side was really one gadol.
It was Yol Binun, wasn't it?
Real gadol, and that's Yudel Gershuni, Yehuda Gershuni. Yehuda Gershuni, I learned with him a little bit. Yudel Gershuni, Go Notzum, he was Talmud and best guy, in which I say one of the best, in the Shiva of Baruch Ber. There's like 6 Talmidim of Reb Chaim who were considered the top. He was one of the 6, and he says the whole purpose. He only was talking about the. He didn't talk, as far as I remember. First of all, I heard a share from him on this. I talked to him about this, and there's some tshuva somewhere, but I remember everything he said. And the main thing that he said is based on also with the Sarach HaShulchan, but either based or he bring it as a proof. The whole thing's based on simcha. So he goes like this: we do the Sheva brachas not because people are getting married again and again and again. It's ridiculous. But because it makes them so happy. It makes the chassan and kala happy. That's why we have Sheva brachos during Shivat Yimei Mishta. And because we're not going to get to it here, but that some hold that you don't have to have it with a Suda. You can have just a Maisa. They gather outside shul, or they gather at the house of the during the week. And they make the bracha because it makes them happy. So he says, kachavi, if that's the situation, if the couple wants to have he wants to have a woman doing Sheva brachas. He's a pretty religious guy saying it. Sheva, then of course it's a Yom Simcha, why not? And therefore he was matur. There is also a tshuva which I haven't seen, but I saw it quoted from Rav David Bigman, who's a big Talmid Chacham, who's Rosh Yeshiva up north. 17 pages. I saw part of it once, in which I think he's matter for mostly the same reasons. This thing. Can we carry it over to the under the chuppah? The more I teach it, the more I think yes. But the reason why I haven't done it yet is because I'm still not convinced. What do I do if it's mitam? If it's the reason for the mitzvah of the Sheva brachas is mitam b'chasan, I'm not so sure, but I'm in suspense about where I go. And Dafka today, I was asked this question by a man who was my first musmach. He's been doing a wedding, and up to now he's been holding off. He said, "Hey, have you changed your opinion on this?" I said, "I'm giving shir tonight." So anyway, he's not. He asked me that question. Okay, so I think I should stop on this regard here. There's one or two more things I want to look at with you. I wanted, yeah, okay, no, I did enough on this page. Is there anything else here? No, there's something else I want to do. Oh yeah, yeah. In the Prisha on Tet. The Prisha here, Joel, you continue with this. Ears of the Dichasol Chupa. It's Tet in the Prisha.
Didn't Lexi just read this one, or do we not?
Did you? Oh, I'm sorry, Lexi. How far did you get in this?
She got till Utfil Ela Berkat Shevach Utfila V'Kala Avin.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you continue, Lexi? I apologize. Go on. I think it's Masha Amar
Sure.
Chazal.
Yeah. במשך חז"ל, כלה בברכה, הרי היא כנידה. כתב מהר"י בפסקיו, דאין רוצה לומר ברכה ממש, אלא כלומר בלא חופה. משום דקודם חופה תקנו לומר לכתחילה ברכת חתנים, ומשום הכי נקט בלא ברכה. אין שם. Right, so we have this saying in the Gemara of like a kala without like a bracha is usher as if she were a nida. We have this takana, and so then the Maharim ends up saying that like it's not a bracha mamash. What it actually means is like a kala, someone who's like engaged but who hasn't actually done chuppah yet. That chuppah is the thing that like is ma'akev, but the brachot are not. And it just said bracha because the normal thing was to say bracha like before / during chuppah, and so that was like shorthand, basically.
Right, and it was a misleading shorthand. That's what he wants.
Yes.
To say. It's a misleading shorthand. Okay,
Right.
that's good. That stop there. That's for this. Now, if you look now at Daled, I basically did Daled. Ein Mevorchim Birchas Chasonim in the Torah. Ein Mevorchim Birchas Gadol. We did that already. Then where he has then Hey Zion. Umevorchim Oton Kol Zion Achar Achila. And then they have examples. Who brings examples of doing it outside the Chasson and Kala's house or outside the Beit Knesset? Where is that? Anybody remember that?
It shows up in the Aruch HaShulchan, right?
Oh, by the way, let's look at the Beis Yosef where it says Daled. The second, you hardly see it. Mashomer Gedolim Ubnei Chorim, right? A couple lines down for there. Nishal HaRashba. Do you see that? Okay. Alan, do you see that? Nishal HaRashba. It's the second. How do I describe where it is, anybody? Somebody help me.
Further up, further down.
Alan, we can't really hear you.
Yeah.
All right. I have Nishal HaRashba. Can you guys hear me?
We still don't hear you.
You're not hearing me, okay? No.
I think your book is covering the microphone.
How about now?
That's better.
Now you can hear me. Okay. Nishal HaRashba. Siman.
Okay. Al-Ir.
Al-Ir she'im ba'asra b'nei adam b'birkat nisuin. V'yafshar la'aviyam sham me'makom acher. V'shiv birkat chatanim ena b'pechut ma'asra.
Which seems like tough luck, dude.
You're right.
That's it.
You're out of luck. V'chitve mar Yisraelin Siman katav b'shem tshuvat Mahimamoni de'in birkat ma'akvot de'yavet de'mistabra de'kala b'la bracha asura levala kanida hainu below chupa ela
Right.
denaka.
Okay, so you don't have 10. So without 10, you don't have the brachas. But guess what? You still have the chuppah. And what are the brachas? Brachas are thrown under the bus here in this psak. In other words, I was trapped. Kind of a devaluation of the brachas. Go on.
Right. Hainu below chupa ela denaka b'la bracha.
Below chuppah. That's the halacha. Below chuppah. There is a chuppah. Go on.
Denaka b'la bracha lefisha osim bracha b'shat nisuin. V'chi ta'ala al datcha im ein b'medina asra shelo tinaseh isha mishum debirkat chatanim ba'asra.
Right. I like how you read it. You're now getting to read good. Okay, what? We're going to stop a chasana? We're going to stop a chasana? You know, and other Mefarshim will say, what? It's a mitzvah say to get married, and they're going to live without getting married. You're going to say that? Alkan Lashona. But what does the man on whose breath we live respond to that?
The answer of Nireen, he's wrong. It's not going to hold up. The matama tani the ain't hakinami she'im ain't sham asra shalotin isha ve'in ze ela kamachriya hadavar be'atzma. He's just begging the
What's
question.
machriya davar be'atzma?
Translated as question begging, like allowing the question to
No, this is how it is. You're passing halacha on the basis of the way that Landy's taught you to read right now, which is we're not going to have, right? That's not a halachic argument. The Beit Yosef says. I think it is a halachic argument, but the Beit Yosef is a pretty smart guy, right?
Right.
And so here we have, I just want to say, we have a classic situation, right? Of, I don't know how I'm going to say it. It's a classic situation is that we know they need to get married. So how much do we hold the line? The Beis Yosef is ready to hold the line. And how much do we devalue brachas, devalue minyan, right, in order to pay the way? Beis Yosef doesn't really have the best way to go here is not to the Darkei Moshe. We'll just take a moment. The Darkei Moshe, what number in the Darkei Moshe? Look at a regular Darkei Moshe. I was looking to Aruch. Darkei Moshe. Chet. Go ahead, Alan. Darkei Moshe Chet.
Yes.
Or is it hay? No, it's Chet. It's Chet. It's Chet. No. Wait, so where are you looking at?
I'm in the Darkei Moshe Chet. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking not at Darkei Moshe Aruch, just Darkei Moshe. Vein Devarav Nirin.
That's what I was reading. Yeah. The
interrupt. Oh, is that what you were saying? Okay, go read it.
Ella in the brachot makvot kamashani parallel basmuch. Umihu lechachila yesh li zaher ulhadar achar asara.
What's he trying to do here?
Trying to thread the needle a little bit. But okay, lechachila you really should not do it with.
When do you say lechachila? You say lechachila when you're caving. When you cave, you say, of course, lechachila, you should do everything possible. You say that in order to cave and to say, if you don't have a minyan, then we can still do it because the brachot are not makra. What do you have, Joel?
There's a slight thing, right? I think, and this may be a bit disconnect here. The Ein Devarav Nir'in in Darkei Moshe is not quoting the Beit Yosef. He's, I think, saying about the Beit Yosef, his things, he's actually having a little fun with him in some ways. He's like, you said the Trumat Hadeshin, Ein Devarav Nir'in? I don't think your thing is Nir'in, right? And
yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
But he's taking out from the Beit Yosef, right?
He is, but I think he doesn't usually quote the Beit Yosef initially. He usually just kind of puts comments in there. And so
okay, good. Okay, Rafael, quickly, what do you got?
Simply, Machriya Dovo Be'atzmo is like, we know that if he'll marry her without brachot, that will be okay, b'di'evid. But like, to paskin it, it's like, to actually like make an halachic decision towards it, that's the problem he sees here. Machriya Davar Be'atzmo, you're like creating an halachically di'evidish situation in your own hands. Not b'di'evid, but like you as a rabbi are creating this.
Well, you don't want a b'di'evid to be a lachachila, right? Or even the norm of some sort of norm. I agree. I mean, I think that's what happens. That's what happens. But I think it's an important, crucial dynamic here to remember. And since I'm going to stop here because Reb Nachum is taking over on this, Reb Nachum, how does the Shulchan Aruch paskin? Well, I won't say. How does it paskin? And with the Meforshim.
Well, the Chalkan.
We shall see. We shall see.
Okay, fine. Okay, 3-minute break, and then Reb Nachum will be up. Yeshkoyach, everybody.
Okay.